Pajashig, welcome to InDigital Insights. Monique Manach, Indigenous, Kitikanik Anishinaabe and Dojaba. My name is Monique Manach, and I'm a member of the Algonquins of Barrier Lake. And today, we're going to be talking about AI with Mel Izanami. And Mel is from Mexico, and he's done some incredible work. You're doing your master's, aren't you, in the
Y en
University
Buenos
of...
Aires, ya, en 3 de febrero en Buenos Aires, Argentina. Yes.
Can you tell us about your work?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Bien, primero, muchas gracias por la invitación. ¿Verdad? Agradezco mucho estar acá y compartir este tipo de discursos. Bueno, sí, el trabajo que vengo desarrollando durante el último año es portales a pasados por venir. English could be like portal to future past. La idea de esto es usar la ucronía en la ciencia ficción como herramienta especulativa para pensar en un mundo alternativo, cómo hubiera sido México sin la intervención de la conquista española, cómo se hubieran desarrollado los pueblos originarios sin la intervención del Imperio Español, desde una visión futurista, porque creo que una de las cosas que me interpelan de este último proyecto que estoy haciendo es pues la identidad y por otro lado la ciencia ficción. Es como combinar ambas y crear con esto esta pieza que tiene diferentes soportes, realidad aumentada, 3D, animación y NetArt, pero podemos hablar de eso en breve.
And you recently did a residency with
Yes.
was it Concordia in
No,
Montreal?
UQAM. Ya, en UQAM. University of Quebec, en Montreal. Sí, fue como toda una experiencia de proyecto que se ha, llamemos, capitalizado de muchas maneras, porque empezó como el proyecto de mi tesis en Buenos Aires, Argentina, y después se convirtió en mi proyecto donde apliqué para una residencia. México tiene este sistema que es Fondo para la Cultura y las Artes, donde puedes aplicar para diferentes becas y apoyos. Y gracias a Alexander Castonway principalmente, que fue mi vínculo en UCAM, yo envié mi proyecto, que todavía estaba en desarrollo, se lo presenté a él le gustó, porque él, dentro de la UCAM está el Laboratorio de Arte de Colonial, el LABAF, entonces le pareció que era una pieza, un proyecto pertinente para investigar y desarrollar en la universidad. Así que con eso fue que pude viajar a Canadá, a Montreal durante 3 meses para continuar desarrollando el proyecto y prácticamente el proyecto terminó esta primera etapa en Canadá.
And what do you plan on doing with this project? Can you tell us a little more about what it is that you did?
Yes, ya, totalmente. La idea de este proyecto, cómo se materializa este proyecto la idea de este proyecto es presentar diferentes materialidades. En realidad es una pieza que se compone por un cuerpo de obra de diferentes partes. Principalmente como nació desde la idea de cómo pensar un futuro en donde la conquista de México no haya ocurrido, se planteó esta ucronía. Primero se generaron un montón de bocetos de los diferentes elementos animados que, que son parte de la pieza de la realidad aumentada. Después hice una investigación antropológica hasta donde pude, porque hay un nivel científico digamos, no toca mi proyecto porque hay muchas libertades poéticas, pero todo empezó justamente por esto, por una reflexión sobre la identidad en México, porque hay un montón de cosas que yo como mexicano he sentido mientras fui creciendo en México y encontrarme con diferentes situaciones, cómo somos nosotros como mexicanos, cómo habitamos el mundo, qué identidades tenemos, cómo nos relacionamos con otras identidades, sobre todo con las identidades de los pueblos originarios. A partir de eso, me pareció muy pertinente trabajar la realidad aumentada como una nueva capa de realidad que puede habilitar este mundo sin tener estas fronteras obtusas o estos sesgos económicos y políticos, sino tener la oportunidad de crear un nuevo espacio sin eso. Mucho de lo que yo he creado acá son piezas con las que yo suelo trabajar. Yo trabajo video mapping, trabajo medios interactivos, trabajo obviamente realidad aumentada, entonces teatro multimedia, y siempre busco que mis proyectos estén relacionados con la identidad. En este caso, este tipo de piezas, por ejemplo, es la impregnación de identidad o nódulo familiar en la máquina o la fugacidad de un momento en el tiempo, son piezas que todas hablan de la identidad de nosotros como mexicanos, como nacidos en un país conquistado, en un continente conquistado, eh, o en un mundo como humanos, cómo nos relacionamos. Entonces, con esto, volviendo al proyecto de portales, creé diferentes elementos como pirámides voladoras, como Quetzalcóatl, una especie de Quetzalcóatl robot, eh, una reversión del Zompantli, que es esta calavera mexicana, una suerte de teocalli, que son las llamadas pirámides mexicas, y empecé a construir con diferentes instrumentos de realidad aumentada. Primero de manera sencilla, con estos elementos en Web AR para irlos incorporando. La principal idea de esto es que la realidad aumentada se pudiera acceder gracias a un portal, porque justamente es un portal a otros mundos, los cuales podemos habitar. Después, la idea fue creciendo y se desarrolló esta experiencia Web 360. Además de la experiencia 360, planteé la construcción de esta fake web a modo de net art, donde juego con un montón de elementos como estos videos en glitches, y además tengo estos códigos QR, son los que nos ayudan a poder acceder a la pieza, ya que estos QR se dispersaron, se diseminaron por diferentes países en toda América. Entonces estuvieron en Brasil, en Chile, en Uruguay, en Argentina, en México, en Canadá. Se pegaban en diferentes espacios públicos para poder habitar el espacio público de otra manera. Entonces podías acceder gracias a los QRs, se abría el portal y tú podías entrar a ese portal. Después de navegar la pieza te daba la sugerencia de entrar a la fake web. Empezó con esta suerte de WordPress y que luego fue creciendo, en donde construí a modo de ucronía una ficción de justamente cuál es el pasado que llevó a ese presente. Es decir, qué hicieron los personajes como La Malinche, como Gonzalo Guerrero, como Moctezuma, para tomar diferentes decisiones que llevó a que llevó a este presente donde México no está bajo la influencia, no estuvo bajo la influencia de la conquista española y que justamente presenta un nuevo presente, ¿no? Las dos piezas están conectadas entre sí y bueno, básicamente de eso habla como el proyecto.
Whereabouts in Canada are they? Can our
Sorry?
audience find them? Are they? What cities are they in Canada?
Oh, well, only right now, only Quebec. Yeah, only Montreal. Yeah, because Montreal and Montreal too. Because I visit, yeah, I have my visit to Montreal. I paste different QR in Montreal.
Excellent. Well, I'd be happy to share them around Ottawa
Yeah,
and Carleton. I'll go to Carleton, so I can share them at Carleton University as well. And yeah, that would
thank
be
you so much.
amazing. I'd love to be able to do that.
Yes.
This identity you talked about, have you found any answers through your work?
Creo que no es una respuesta cerrada y me alegra que no sea una respuesta cerrada porque está bueno que te encuentres con más preguntas que son más profundas todo el tiempo. Me hace feliz eso. Y de hecho, creo que para mí al menos el mejor lugar para poder concluir esta parte del proyecto fue en Montreal, porque también Montreal, Quebec, tiene sus propias identidades y situaciones decoloniales que yo no había considerado en mi pieza y que son diferentes, como la relación de las primeras naciones, la relación de los pueblos angloparlantes y la relación de los pueblos francófonos o francoparlantes. Entonces me parece muy interesante porque si bien me ayudó mucho a entender parte de mi identidad como mexicano, parte de mi identidad como mestizo y entender que somos, justamente como lo dije por el glitch, somos varias identidades a la vez. A la vez también me hace preguntarme cómo otras identidades se relacionan con la decolonización.
Yeah, I find that interesting that the in Quebec, because my community is in Quebec,
Okay, yes,
and the effect or the impact of colonization on the Algonquin community and what that has done. Because even in our own communities, some of us were sent to French-based residential schools, and in my community was sent to English-based residential schools. So there's even that difference in language. My community is mostly speaks English,
yes,
whereas 2 hours up the road they mostly speak French. And so, even trying to reconnect with our own culture and reconnect with our own communities, we face that language barrier because so many have lost a lot of the Algonquin. We're fortunate in my community; we still have our language, um, but not all of them have as many fluent speakers as we do. And identity, I think, is so tied to the language you speak. Um, because our language in Algonquin is very locative, it's very tied to the geography. And English is not, French is not. And so trying to find the words and find the ways to get past that barrier back to the values of our communities, it's difficult. If you don't have the word for it, or if you don't, the values are certainly different. Resource extraction, that kind of thing, as opposed to being tied to the land, tied to the environment. And so there's that gap
yes,
also.
yes, yeah, I totally understand the idea because, yeah, for example, here in Mexico, there are a lot of language because that there are each generation is less people to speak this language, you know. But at the same time, is a I think it's a really complicated problem and a really sensitive problem because the mix are, at least for in Mexico, the mix of our different identities create at the same time a new identity. The idea for me is not trying to be this Spanish like 500 years ago, these pre-Hispanic people, because for me it's a little naive in our case about the mestizaje, but in different part, as I said, is different because the relation with the other identity is not belong to the mestizaje. It's more about the trying to keep their identity because these people has their own identities. I don't think it's a good thing to think this impregnation of the identity and you at the end this idea of I don't know the capitalism or the globalization part is all the world under the same identity, all the world under the same language, and it's very dangerous actually because not only for identities, but I think the environment. For example, Yu Hui in his book Fragment the Future speak about it because he talk about the monotechnic and cosmotechnic. The idea, as you say, Monique, lost our cultures. It's a limited thing to understand the word, the language, the technology. In that case, the only technology that we use is the West cultural cultures in Mexico, it's like la hegemonía eurocentrista is the only technology that put over the other technologies. For example, I don't know, a loss of ancestral knowledge is lost because it's outside of the scientific method. Yes, why happened that? Because it's not evaluate for the scientific method. And yes, we have a lot of problem, and it's not only the situation for our the identities, it's for the environment or for the thing that we understand the world. We are disconnected for the world. And the thing is, the part of capitalism trying to only take advantage of the world, not live in the world and in harmony, with the world. It's a dangerous situation. Yes.
Exactly. And even in technology, when you look at the algorithms, when you look at I've been taught that algorithms are based on annotations, and annotations are basically definitions of words, but the definitions are based on Western culture. So a word like settler means something completely different in my community than it does in mainstream society. And if we're using those definitions when we're trying to create Indigenous specific technology, then we're not actually reaching the heart of the culture, because there's no words. There's no words in our. So how do we? I mean, there's billions of annotations and algorithms. How do we create an authentic space
Yes.
for? And even within Indigenous, there are so many nations. But is there a way to even, make a like an enclave, a place where it is authentically based on the values, based on the principles, based on the life lessons of Indigenous people? Is there a way to create that?
Creo que ahí tengo dos como anotaciones que me parecen súper interesantes. La primera es, creo que lo leí en un libro de Rodrigo Bastidas, El tercer mundo después del sol, que es una antología de ciencia ficción muy buena, que hablaba sobre cómo la ciencia en Latinoamérica no es ciencia, entre comillas, porque la ciencia se genera en Europa y se generó bajo el método científico. Entonces, todo lo que son los conocimientos ancestrales acá en América son como es brujería o chamanismo o pseudociencia, pero no es ciencia, porque la ciencia se tiene que validar por un método científico que es una sola manera de pensar. Entonces, Rodrigo Bastidas tenía una anécdota que hablaba sobre un pueblo originario de Brasil que tenían una planta que usaban como un medicamento. Entonces, una persona llega como un médico investigador, toma el medicamento, lo patenta, lo capitaliza. Y entonces es como, ¿cómo relacionas el concepto de ciencia que vale como capital con el concepto de ciencia que tienen esos pueblos originarios, que lo que tratan es de compartir eh, a través de la comunidad este conocimiento? And the thing is, these people at the end make a judge with the patent, and yeah, it's a happy ending because at the end the indigenous people has this patent of the knowledge of the medicine. And yeah, it's just very fair because it's like you play in a game with different rules because we are in a different part and we have different knowledge, but this knowledge doesn't match with the scientific method. And how can play in the same part, the same way with different rules? It's not possible.
Not at all, no. And with the Western way of extracting and resource extract and just taking, as opposed to whenever I say go berry picking, you don't take the first ones you see, and you don't take the last, because you always want to make sure that there's going to be some next year. You leave some,
Yes.
and you're thinking of the next generations.
Yeah.
But they don't think that way. They just take everything. They
Yes.
take all
Yeah,
they
it's the
can.
idea of capitalism. Just take a lot, the faster that you can, and that's it. The future is
Yeah.
the future is not exist. I don't know. It's not important for this kind of thoughts. Yes.
Oh. And so how can those two cultures actually, um, you know, work together, or how can the indigenous cultures protect and preserve,
Yes.
and even in the virtual space, we have different values, we have different ways of doing things, and how do we protect that? How do we pass that on to the next generations?
Para mí es un reto muy interesante eso, porque una de las cosas con las que yo estuve trabajando mucho fue con la realidad aumentada y la inteligencia artificial. Entonces, de primera instancia, todo eso también es ciencia que viene de un método científico. Entonces, es como hegemonía tecnológica cultural, pero ¿cómo podemos reapropiarnos de estas tecnologías a nuestro favor? Por ejemplo, perdón por la autorreferencia, pero es como en portales a pasados por venir, trato de pensar cómo esa realidad aumentada no solo sirve como un efectismo, sino que también habilita otra forma de pensar desde un lugar no hegemónico, desde un mundo no hegemónico. O cómo la inteligencia artificial o inclusive cómo Google Translate me puede ayudar a generar, por ejemplo, no a generar, sino ya hay Google Translate ya lanzó la traducción en náhuatl, por ejemplo. Entonces ahí yo puedo revisar cosas. Entonces se vuelven como también aliados si tenemos cuidado, obviamente, y somos críticos con las herramientas tecnológicas que usamos.
The other thing that we have with our First Nations here is that all these different nations have different protocols around knowledge transference. Sometimes the knowledge is kept within families, so it's only those people in those families have that knowledge to pass down. Sometimes it's through ceremony. Sometimes, there are various ways that these protocols come into play. And with the technology, how do we honor and continue those protocols?
Me parece, eso era creo que la segunda parte que te iba a comentar, está súper interesante porque ahí yo creo que la situación acá es que primero tenemos que entender como parte, por lo menos en México, como mestizos, inclusive como extranjeros de cualquier tierra, que no hubo un único pueblo originario o un único pueblo indígena. Por ejemplo, en mi caso, cuando pensamos muchas veces en la conquista de México, y es como pensamos en los aztecas y en los españoles, cuando en realidad no hubo un encuentro de dos identidades. Hubo los españoles que se encontraron con un montón de identidades eh, en México, de pueblos originarios. Entonces cada una tenía sus propios conflictos, sus propias relaciones, sus propios protocolos. Y la otra cosa es que muchas veces pensamos como externos, como en que esos pueblos originarios, porque las dos son válidas, pero lo importante es justamente entender dónde estamos parados, eh, que muchas veces pensamos en las identidades como en una idea única que no se mueve, sino que se mantiene como estática. Y muchas veces las identidades van mutando y muchas veces las identidades europeas plantean que las identidades de los pueblos originarios solo tienen que quedarse como estáticas, cuando esas identidades también se han estado renovando todo el tiempo y han estado en constante cambio y en constante tensión por la relación de las nuevas identidades europeas y por la relación con la tecnología.
Yeah, because different, like the Haida are completely different from the Algonquin. The Haudenosaunee are completely different from the Cree. And this, we tend to fall into this pan Indianism. How do we ensure that these very specialized and unique cultures are reflected in technology, in our video games, in our languages? How do we make sure that we honor that
Yes,
and not fall into this whole,
yes.
all pan-Indian kind of thing.
Ya, for mí sí, sí, o sea, para mí es crear como llevar tu identidad a estos lenguajes tecnológicos es creo que un buen primer acercamiento. No sé cómo va a terminar esto, pero para mí el trabajar desde nuestras identidades no hegemónicas sobre este tipo de tecnologías me parece que enriquece mucho, porque el problema justamente que hay un montón, justamente mencionas los videojuegos, que creo que tienen una problemática similar. O sea, los videojuegos están súper alineados con una tendencia y por eso justamente hay todo una debate si los videojuegos son arte o no son arte, porque pareciera que los videojuegos, no tanto por la parte técnica, sino por el mensaje, se han mantenido justamente en una línea súper estrecha. Y en mi caso, por ejemplo, que trabajé con la ciencia ficción, me di cuenta también de eso. La ciencia ficción tiene una limitante súper estrecha del tipo de narrativa que hay, o inclusive la misma narrativa. O sea, tenemos, por ejemplo, la narrativa de Joseph Campbell, que yo leía a Joseph Campbell desde que era un estudiante y era como yo entendí la narrativa audiovisual así, como un planteamiento, un desarrollo, un clímax y un desenlace. Y de pronto tengo a La Bolsa de Ficción de Úrsula Le Guin, que habla de otro tipo de narrativas y que se pueden contar otro tipo de historias. Entonces yo creo que nos toca a nosotros, desde nuestro lugar, empezar a abrir la posibilidad de visibilizar otro tipo de pensamientos dentro de estos mismos recursos que están, para justamente reapropiarnos de estos pensamientos.
Yeah, I mean, our stories were value based,
Yes.
so they were meant to teach our next generations. So that
Yeah.
whole conflict, you know, the one man versus nature, like, please, it's really,
Yes. This is the only story that maybe.
yeah,
Pues,
like it's not an indigenous way of thinking at all. And to say that science is above ancestral knowledge, I mean, we were so much closer to how everything worked.
yeah.
And so to say that, you know, their science is better, that is so racist.
Yeah.
For me, that is just incredibly racist, and that hierarchy,
Yeah.
you know, to say that, you know, that it's, I mean, I love the idea of, I worked on a project, I interviewed a few young artists about Indigenous futurisms.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we talked about the different, you know, ways of looking at the future, you know, the ideal future, what they call the when the world has been destroyed future, the apocalypse future, you know, the reclamation future, where we've been able to reclaim, you know, and that future that you talk about, where what if it was different? What if there hadn't been that oppression and that um, colonization?
How may different this word? You said that? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Para mí es entender que parte de nuestra identidad está ligada a esos microcolonialismos que tú mencionas, porque hay mucho racismo y muchos prejuicios que damos por hecho y no es así, como dices. La única manera de contar historias es esta, la única manera de plantear una identidad es esta. Y entonces, obviamente, ya no vivimos en una era donde se plantea el racismo de una manera, pero hay esos microcolonialismos que pasan un montón en nuestras identidades todo el tiempo y que el problema es que las damos por sentadas. Entonces, para mí, primero es preguntarse cómo es que no tener la intervención del Imperio Español hubiera cambiado la identidad de la identidad mexicana. No solo con estas imágenes o estos entornos mecánicos, robóticos, que son bellos y que me gustó crear porque es como cómo se relaciona la tecnología, que es una tecnología entre prehispánica y es una tecnología que parte de mi imaginario, como una libertad poética que creé, pero más allá de eso, es decir, hay un montón de identidades que están en la identidad mexicana que vienen desde una sumisión y vienen desde un miedo y vienen como de un protocolo que tenemos que hacer o no hacer las cosas y es diferente y creo que mucho de eso yo me encontré, por ejemplo, cuando hice la maestría en Argentina, porque en Argentina al tener una identidad migrante mucho más cercana por las migraciones italianas, ellos crearon otra identidad. Entonces yo me di cuenta que por lo menos los rioplatenses, porque no puedo hablar de toda Argentina, tienen otra identidad. Y me puse a preguntarme, mi punto cero movió mi punto cero, porque todos pensamos que nuestra identidad es el punto cero, porque damos por sentado todo, a veces. Y entonces está bueno a veces corrernos de ese lugar y preguntarnos, tal vez no debería de ser así. Because, for example, in Mexico, it's a little thing, but it's a good thing to reflection. For example, in Mexico, we say Monday. If someone, for example, I called you, Monique, and you answer me Monday instead of what or what do you need or whatever. But if you answer in Mexico Monday, this is the current way to say it. But Monday is like order. You order me, and it's the same. Is we used to speak in that way in Colombia too, and why? And even when I was a child, the adults called my attention to not say it que instead of Monday. We need to say it Monday all the time. And we need to say, yes, order me, please, like a master. It's like what we said that this is not common, but people here in Mexico, as me, as I don't know, 6 years ago, doesn't question what kind of word stand in our culture right now as a microcolonialism.
There are some things like that in our community as well. Like they call it. So whenever there's like a ceremony or celebration, women are supposed to wear skirts.
Okay.
But that comes from Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't us. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't practical for one thing,
Yes.
and we didn't have the same value. That's not a good word. We didn't have the same principles applied to women must wear skirts. Like that just wasn't part of our culture.
Yes.
But
Yes.
because the Christian, now it's embedded, because even elders will say, well, and when you go to a sacred lodge, they'll often have like a basket or whatever with skirts in it.
Okay.
So when women come in, they're supposed to put them on.
Yeah. Okay.
And for me, I don't think the creator cares.
Yeah.
I don't think that was part of our culture. I really don't, but that's become embedded. It's the same thing like out west. I met this one elder who was adamant that women do not touch the drum.
Okay. But this is the original tradition, or is it the
Yeah.
Okay.
In my community, there were women's drums.
Yes.
Like specifically made for women. There were children's drums, there were elders' drums.
Okay.
We didn't have the big drum, like the powwow drum.
Yes.
We didn't have that, but everybody had a hand drum.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that idea, I think, also comes from Christianity, that women aren't. And this guy is like really rabid about it. Like he gets crazy. If a woman goes near a drum, he's whoa. I was at this one thing where somebody came and said, well, we're in Algonquin territory and I'm going to put tobacco on the drum and I'm going to, pray that, that we understand that women can drum. And the elder ran over and he started brushing the tobacco off the drum. And he was like really upset about it. And he didn't want women touching. And he wasn't even from here. Like he was from out west.
Okay.
He had no business telling the Algonquins what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah. 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 For me, as a reflection, for example, when I was a child, if you are sitting in a table, for example, in a diner or something, and there are 4 people who speak Spanish and 1 people who speak English, these 4 people need to speak English to speak with these people. But it's different because if the 4 people speak English and 1 people is Spanish, all these people is not common to trying to speak in Spanish with these people. And if you speak Spanish, you are outside of the conversation and the word conversation actually. And for me, it's the same thing when I been in Montreal. Is the same sensation. That's how all this knowledge came only from this part of the Anglophone people, or Anglophone knowledge. There are a lot of different knowledge about the First Nation or French people. I mean, the first Francophone people, or the different parts in Latin America too. But no, the only thing is we need to speak all the time English, because yes, it's a universal language, but at the same time, it's not the idea to an imposition, you know. And for me, for example, when I was in Montreal, I was the opportunity to speak about this project in ACFAS, and I talk about with Romeo Góngora. He worked with Alex in Labarthe, and in that case, Romeo told me, and if you need to speak this thing in Spanish, and we have this translate could help to us to translate the Spanish to the public in French. These are good opportunities to speak without this imposition.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, yeah, we speak in English and make and mix with the Spanish all the time, and I am feel comfortable with that, because I understand totally that most of the people is easier in that world, at least, that we speak English because it's a common language. But the idea is not to be a imposition all
Mm-hmm.
the time. And for example, I don't know, when I was I speak with Alex in Alex Castonway, he trying to speak with me in Spanish. It's a good for me. It's a good detail, and obviously I trying to speak with he in French with my too limited French. But yeah, it's a is in that case is not a servile act. It's more like a kind act, or communicate to other people in their language, because it's trying to be part of their culture, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, for me, it's not make sense that I speak my language and everyone need to speak my language. Is your problem, not my problem. Yes, this is not a good thing. Yes,
But it happens in English. I know that happens all the time. And sometimes, depending on where you are, in French as well, it
I
happens.
guess yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that. I saw that this issue with the French in Paris, for example, and the French in Montreal, and yeah, I saw that in a little experience in Montreal. I saw that. Yes,
And it's a different French. It's a different French in Paris than it is in Montreal. Like I've heard people talk about that too. I was having lunch with a friend, and she speaks French, but she speaks Quebecois French.
yes,
And the server came over and was talking to us, and then after she left, she said, "That woman's from Paris. I you can tell by the way she was speaking." I didn't know. Like, really?
yeah, no, yeah. The idea is that to trying to communicate is a kind act, and we need to think. I need to start thinking that way. Again, in Mexico, part of this complex situation is the English is too related to the economic class, for example, or the status, the lower or higher class. And if you speak well, you are a, I don't know, the sophisticated people. And if you're not, you are not a citizen of the world or something. And obviously, your accent needs to be like an English native. And what about my accent? It's like for me, it's like an signature or something. The idea is obviously that you could understand me, but at the same time, I don't have lost my accent because I am Latin, and I like my Latin in English and Latin in French. It's part of identity too. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, I've been told that across the Americas, we had a sign language and that everybody could understand each other
Yes.
using the sign language. And I'm wondering, can that be? I mean, I know it's a visual thing, but is there some form of that? Because when I think of the different languages, to me, it's like you're looking at a painting and you look at the painting in English and certain colors are there and certain images are prioritized, like you see them more. But then if you look at it in Spanish or you look at it in Algonquin, different colors are there.
Yes.
And the words have different meanings, and sometimes there's no meaning in English for the word you're using in another language, because the different concepts are put together. So, like, how do we help each other to understand when I've got a concept that is all combined over here, but there's no concept or there's no word for that in
Yes.
another language,
Yes.
especially using tech, like use it technically, or using AI, or using, video games, or, that kind of.
I love this kind of situation. For example, in our different language, I don't know words that doesn't exist in other language, because obviously they are not that thing or that animal or that situation specifically, and in another country, yes, and they have a lot of words for this thing or animal or whatever. And how do you translate all these things for this different situation? I don't know, with the technology things too, and the same time, I don't know, maybe each culture no make as a conscious way, but they combine this technology with your terms, with with their words, with all these things at the same time. For me, find two other ways to communicate besides to the words. For example, I don't know, in Montreal, I found with the people in UCAM, every Tuesday we play jam together, and we made this music, and we combine my visual project with the music of different people in UCAM, and we don't need speak about what need to create this Tuesday or not. It's like an improvisation thing, and it's a other kind of communication in that way. I don't know, for example, for me, the dance or cook, yeah, make a dinner for our friends or something, is another way to communication, and it's a beautiful thing. The situation here, for example, the word, obviously the words made this resolution thing about our communication exist, but at the same time came from this rational part of our brain. And if we communicated, for example, with the visual things, the music, the dance, the taste of the flavors, yes, you have all these different communication not related to the rational part, but at the same time you connect with the people.
Absolutely. I think that's where we need tech to go, in a
Yes.
way that, we can all understand images. Yeah, I love that dance, taste, like the way that, um, there are many things that are common to all human beings.
Yeah.
And I guess finding how we can communicate those things, I think uh, that's would be an interesting place for the tech to go, I guess.
Yeah, I think if we are reflection about that, is a white canvas if you want to create or experiment with this new way to communication, or reflection about it, or create art with that thoughts in our minds. Yes.
And I think video games are art.
For me too, it could be art. We can create a lot of things of video games from a different places. There are some movies, right? We have these spectacular and effective movies. We have these movies with these savior people, United States savior people, resolve a conflict, make a woman and kill the bad guy. And we have these movie things, or we have a lot of movie things or movie experience with all different plots or histories. And the video games is the same thing, because if you create the same system with the guy who killed people and save women's, yeah, it's a little limited. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where do you think your work is going to take you?
For me, Portales a Pasados por Venir es como, it's a project that could expand a lot. And for me, could be interesting to work with other artists in different parts of different countries in Latin America, or even in Canada, for example, too. And how connect with these indigenous people or First Nation people and expand this new layer of reality. Because in my case, I think that I speak about the Mexican people in general, but could be not the correct way to speak about, for example, the Colombian indigenous people, at least without an artist that they are interesting in speak about that with me in a collective project. Maybe we can create as a collective project or research and creation, and in Canada too. For me, was that maybe in general terms for a new media projects. I hope that I could travel and know different identities, because for me at least the thing is each travel that I has found with otherness and find a new layer of my own identity. I try to consciously to get out of my comfort zone, and the travels make me a lot with that, like found this otherness and understand the situation of the people. And obviously, if I stay more time, um, is understand a lot of things about these new identities. And obviously, I found a better way with my own identity and Mexican identity. The other idea is to share this research of this kind of project. For me, is a very value and know the different things in different places. Yeah, I hope that all these things happens with these projects.
Well, we'd love to do some work with you on your project. It's amazing. And I think we'll
Thank
definitely get the QR code out and then see what else we can
Yeah,
develop.
yeah, could be great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. This has been really, really interesting. I love the depth of the conversation, and I really enjoyed talking to you about how how different things are in where you are compared to where we are. So, Kachimi Gwich, thank you very much for being with us today.
No, thank you. Thanks to you, and I'm very glad to share and speak with you about these things. And they are very happy to see that we can create this different new world in different parts, since different parts. I'm very glad to hear that from you, and yeah, I'm really to be here. Yeah.
Gwich, thank you.
No, thanks to you.